Hey, it's Brad with Blue Nile Farm. You ever been interested in different types of attachments for both your skid steer or your tractor? I just happen to have two pieces of equipment that I really enjoy, and I use them on my farm a lot. One is called the SR3, which is on the skid steer. One's called the TR3, which is on the tractor. Both of them are advantageous, and I would like to talk about each one specifically in this video. So stay with me, and hopefully you can make a decision on which one may work best for you. And these are maybe two tools that you never even heard of before, and maybe you might find out that they may be something you may be interested in. So let's get to it. All right, so the first piece of equipment I want to talk about is the TR3, and this is the one that goes on the tractor. And if you're ever going to use a TR3, they come in different sizes. This is a 7.5 foot blade. I think personally it works great for 50 and up tractors. You know, this tractor is a 7060 Kubota. It's about 70 horsepower. It pulls this really nicely, and it's also four-wheel drive, which makes life good too. I've used it on a 55 horse tractor as well, and it's done a good job with that. I try to put it on like a 35 horse tractor, but I think it's a little bit too much for it, especially when you got to get in there and start digging and grading hard. This I could set down as hard as I can, and I could pull it with no problem with the tractor. Now, if you're going to use a machine like this, the TR3, there's no question in my mind you need to get a hydraulic top link. That adjusts this machine a lot and up and down, and is a huge difference when you operate it. So get yourself a hydraulic top link. They're about 250 bucks. Make sure you have one remote at least, and this will make your life so much easier. I cannot see running this effectively without a hydraulic top link. This is one of those tools that if you had a choice to have a hydraulic top link or not, don't even think about it, because you do not want to get out and keep adjusting this. I think it's just too much of a pain in the butt. It's a lot easier doing it set up that way. So I'm going to take and walk you around this TR3 and show you kind of what it's all about. Okay, to start with this machine, the first thing you see, that big silver plate on the bottom, that's called the comb. And that comb, a lot of times you see this on skid steers a lot. It's used a lot of times for putting a nice final grade on, really smoothing out the ground. It works great for debris. And a lot of times you can back up with that and use it like a dozer. So it does help out a little bit as far as that goes. But the combing is more of a finished comb. The tires here can be adjusted. They can be moved forward and back. Both of them, they just have to have a pin popped out, and they could be adjusted. So a lot of times you're trying to put a crown in the driveway. One side could be forward, one could be back, and then you can kind of go up and down the driveway and create a crown. One of the claims to fame on this machine is that this bar right under here, this bar right here, this whole thing is self-leveling. It goes all the way across, and it could be locked in place as well, but it's self-leveling, so it floats across the ground. Now, if I want to use it like a box scraper, I can put a pin in here and lock it down and keep on both sides, and that would be locked in place, and we can actually just drag material and lift it up and pull it. Now, this is set up for Cat 2, so basically your pins here are going to be Cat 2, but this is going to be Category 1 on top. And being Category 1 on top, that's why I use a Category 1 hydraulic top link. It makes a heck of a difference on the unit. Now, the unit has a bunch of teeth that go across. They're probably spaced approximately 9 inches apart. It's just my guess. They have a bunch of teeth, and at the bottom those teeth can be replaced. And I have replaced them on numerous occasions, and they do wear off. But they take a beating on gravel, and I've used them also on dirt as well, and they work exceptionally well. So this is the TR3. I wound up buying this unit, not new. I wound up finding it at an auction. And I also have another TR3, and I use that a lot for gravel driveways. And what they call that is a double duty. And what a double duty is that you have a row of teeth here, and then there's another plate that goes in the back here before the comb, and there's another row of teeth. And so I think it has a lot of ripping power, and I like it on driveways. They don't make it anymore from my understanding. It was an earlier version, but you know, to me, more teeth going in the ground means more ripping and loosening up the soil or the driveway, and that's why I like that unit. Either way, both of them do exceptionally well, and the downfall that I don't like about this at least the TR3 and the model that I have, is that I have to physically adjust the depth of my knives, those teeth, manually. I can't do it remotely or hydraulically, so that makes it kind of cumbersome. So where does the TR3 shine? Well, the TR3, in my opinion, works great on long runs on gravel driveways when you don't have a lot of huge potholes. Now, you can work them out and adjust those teeth down manually, but I really like to have hydraulically to dig in there and rip those teeth out, and I'm kind of lazy. But if I had one tool, I can do a real rutted driveway with this unit. Just you're going to have to play around with the knives a little bit and get them down deep just to tear out that pothole. But for long straight driveways or driveways in general, I love this thing because I can just keep making pass after pass after pass, and I can just grade it out a driveway relatively quickly, and you can have nice long consistent runs. Works great for that. When you have an arena, like a riding arena, whether it's indoor and outdoor arena, or maybe you're putting in a lawn or a big backyard, or you have a big area that you need to level out, you can't beat the tractor because you're constantly moving around and you make a bunch of circles, and it starts to level everything out. Being self-leveling, it makes a big difference, but you still have to take material into a hole. So if you have a hole, drag material in the hole first, fill it in, then start grading around it. But this unit is very efficient, very effective. They're priced reasonably, especially if you can find a used one. I think I bought this one at an auction. I think I paid like $1,200 for it, and the only reason I got it for this is because I'm the only one that knew what it was worth. But you know, these are expensive. They're probably $5,000, $6,000, $4,000 just this unit alone. I'm not counting the hydraulic top link. But they are very good units, and you can't go out to a rental store and find one of these. To me, the box scraper replaces, or this replaces my box scraper. I don't even use a box scraper anymore. I use this unit for any leveling that I need to do with the tractor. It comes down to just this unit. This is the greatest thing when it comes down to leveling, you know, areas. So I use it commercially for that as well. You can use it for land clearing where you're pushing backward and dragging material out, small brush. It works good for that. But again, this is more of a tractor, so you're not going to have the same kind of maneuverability that you would with the skid steer. And that's what we're going to talk about next. So, but overall, I'm very happy with the one I have for the tractor. It has its purposes. And I'll have numerous videos on some of the different demonstrations that I use this for, specifically on the tractor. So hopefully you'll enjoy those videos down the pike. So let's talk about the SR3. The SR3 is the skid steer version of the TR3. But it has a little bit of different bells and whistles that it could do that this one can't. For one, is it's going to have more maneuverability as far as pushing and pulling, and that's because of it being on a skid steer. Secondly, you're going to have hydraulics, and these hydraulics control the knives themselves, where you can dig them down in the ground or pull them back out. So you're going to have to, you don't have to manually adjust them, which is the one thing I cannot stand with the TR3. That's probably the thing I hate the most. If that had knives that can go into the ground hydraulically, I would be more happy with that from a commercial standpoint and from the standpoint of just being able to attack an issue right away. But that's where the skid steer shines. I can do that. The knives go in probably in the ground, in all honesty, I think maybe 4 to 6 inches at most. But they dig in deep, and you can rip material very quickly. Both units, the one thing I have to say is when you're on hard surfaces like a driveway, these are the only two units that I found that can really rip up a driveway. You know, I see guys saying, well, my box scraper can do it and those knives can cut in. They don't cut in nothing like these. This thing's just dive right into there and they tear up gravel. Even if it's a hot summer day and it's like concrete, they'll tear that stuff up. So they take a lot of abuse with those knives. But with the skid steer, I think it's more advantageous when it comes down to digging in and knocking out pothole ruts, because I can jam it down to the ground and I can maneuver and work a hole a lot easier. But anyway, I'm going to take you a walk through on this machine as well, and we'll go over that. So let's take a walk around the SR3. First, just like the other one, it has that comb that runs all across the bottom, and that's good for, again, breaking up clods and for leveling and smoothing out your material. Again, just like the other one, you have this self-leveling bar that runs all the way across. The difference between the SR3, which is this model, versus the one that's on the tractor, is when you look down at the bottom here, you have the comb also on the bottom for the self-leveling blade, which will grab rocks and small debris, as well as provide also a way of breaking down like dirt and smoothing out that material. The other one on the the TR3, the tractor, that blade is completely solid. Now, you can also, just like the skid steer or the tractor, you can lock in with a pin and you can put them in the holes and you can make that self-leveling blade solid, and you can use this tool just like a box scraper and drag material in big chunks. And then when we talk about the knives, like I said, they're hydraulically controlled, off of the skid steer. So you can shoot these into the ground about 4 to 6 inches, and they can really tear up the ground. And that's pretty much it for the most part. It's all relatively the same. But, the one last thing I want to talk about is the tires. The same exact thing applies for the tires. They can be moved forward or backward. So you can work on crowns or try to get some kind of slope if necessary, depending on the material that you're using. So when you talk about the SR3, what's it cost pretty much in the market? Well, this is a tool that you're not going to find used. And if you do find it used, it's probably going to be around probably 4 or 5 grand. I bought this one new many years ago. It was over $6,500, I guess, if I recall. It was kind of pricey, but just like anything else, these are tools that are specialty tools that you're not going to find down the road. You're not going to find them at a rental location. If you don't buy them, you'll never own them. Both tools, the SR3 and the TR3, are both great tools. I'm glad I own them. I highly endorse them. I think that if you figure out ways that you can do that and use them to your benefit, then they'll really shine for you. But they really are great for grading. I use them for different types of grading and different applications, and I'm going to produce some videos on how I use both of these down the road, so you guys can learn a little bit about different applications and how these are beneficial. Hopefully you got a little bit more insight on these SR3 and TR3 pieces of equipment that ABI Attachment sells. I like them. I think that they're really good, and I wouldn't have bought the SR3 if I didn't like them from the TR3. Like I say, I love the fact of being able to put those knives down. They may have a way of doing that, but it probably costs more. But that would be definitely an advantage when you don't have to screw around with the teeth. But overall, though, if you're dealing with a large span, I think that it's not going to really matter, because, when you're working on an area, you may want the teeth, and that's where the skid steer shines. But if you're doing a big, vast area, normally you are going to set it. You're going to run with that throughout the whole process. It's just kind of like farming a field. Once you're set, you're just going to go ahead and start working it. And it's the same type of thing. Hey guys, thanks for watching. Hopefully that video provided a little bit of clarity between the SR3 and the TR3, both made by ABI Attachments. I'm not sponsored in any way by them. I just own this piece of equipment, and I kind of like to talk about some of the stuff that I have and how it's benefited me, and hopefully it'll benefit you. So with that said, hopefully you enjoyed the video. I'm going to have upcoming videos about both of these pieces of equipment in action. Hopefully you tune in and you learn something from both. Thanks for watching.